Hello, welcome, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Elemental Growth. Welcome here. Share this wonderful time with me. It is a whole new year, you guys, and I'm going to share some of my tips and tricks for making the most out of it. I'm going to break down some of the stuff that's in my book, Be the Change. I am also going to share some, secrets to success that I've gotten from some of my really expensive coaching programs that I have invested into myself. I'm going to share the best of the best to help you get the most out of this year because the truth is that I want to see you succeed because it has a ripple effect. Each one of you guys are going to share these kinds of things too. Each one of you guys are going to be a representation of what this world could be so that together we can get rid of that collective anxiety that's happening right now. Instead, start focusing on what it is that we want to create instead of what's happening out into the world right now. Ooh, okay. I don't know what's going on there. Hmm. Desktop audio. Hmm. It shows that the mic's working. So I do apologize, you guys. We're still learning this tech. The truth is, Odyssey just has us on a beta for this. So essentially, uh, they're new, we're new. We're just trying to create something together that is different from Instagram and different from Facebook and different from all of this censorship that's happening today, right? And that all goes into the collective anxiety too. I mean, creators work very, very hard at their craft. And then, me, for example, things get taken down all the time. I had a real big struggle with Facebook for a few years now. Even prior to coronavirus, I had difficulties trying to sell homemade deodorants and things like that because they didn't like the way that I shared that there's aluminum in other deodorants and things like that. So, I mean, there was troubles and censorship before uh, the lockdowns happened, before the, pandemic, as we'll say, before the crown came in and started dominating things once again. Not that they ever stopped, but, once I guess it all came to a head and more people were able to see it for what it was. It was harder to ignore, right? But there was also this collective anxiety that came about. And, I hear so often, even people who are aware of the conspiracy, instead of calling themselves conspiracy theorists, now we're able to see them for what they are, which is fortune tellers. They've taken the information that they knew and were able to learn from history and predict what's happening in the future because history does repeat itself. So we need to give credit for all the conspiracy theorists in our life, I think, and really learn from that past. And when you can do that, there is less anxiety. But here's what I do see is that, sometimes, people, when they start figuring out what's really going on, all they want to do is share it. And it's still very negative. Yes, it's truth, and truth is a positive. This does not make you a negative person. But what it does is feed the fire of anxiety, feed the fire of these depressing thoughts, Instead, let's really focus on the new world that we want to create together, right? And it starts with you, of course, being the change within yourself and then having that ripple out. And so I'm going to share some tips and tricks on this show today to help you do just that, so that this year you can not only predict where you're going to be this time next year, but also make sure you're taking those actions in a very simple and specific way to make that happen. All right. So, I guess to start, let's just tune in with the meditation. So, if you can take a deep breath in, hold at the top, open your heart up as big as you can be, right? We're going to open this up so much today, okay? Release whatever isn't meant to be there. Fill the space with just love and positivity and good vibes that you can carry with you for today, the month, the year. So just Hold that breath, straighten your shoulders, straighten your spine. Imagine as if your spine is a necklace, okay? And you know how sometimes when you pick up a necklace, it just automatically straightens, right? So if you raise your head, your spine will rise into that straight line. That's what we want to do right here, is just raise our spine, open our heart, open. So often we're like this, especially moms, right? You're rocking your baby, you're doing the dishes, you're eating food, you're on the phone. But let's roll back, lift our spine. Some more of those deep breaths here. If you're standing, you can kick your feet. If not, I want you just to move your knees up and down, move your ankles up and down. This will bring the energy from the lower into the higher, and it also helps ground you in, right? So we can all be here and be present, get the most out of this call today. Very important life stuff, you guys. When you breathe in, imagine the breath is coming in through your third eye, and as it's releasing out through your spine, okay? So in through your third eye, this is you breathing into your vision, bringing in all the positivity, and as you exhale, you're releasing through your spine, back to Mama Nature. Anything that doesn't need to be there, you can just filter out as natural as you can. A couple more breaths like this. Hmm. When you're ready, cheers to high tea, and we'll begin today. So I'm going to show you what Tristan and I spent doing yesterday. And I got it folded up right here. Kind of how I take notes. Show you a few. Just while we're here, I can share some other stuff about my life, right? Right. So I invested into a really amazing training with one of Jack Canfield's. Jack Canfield's a guy from Chicken Soup for the Soul books. He's also from the movie The Secret. So he had a mentee named Xander Fryer, and Xander Fryer started out in the corporate world and ended up being the coach for coaches. He quit his job. He just had this mission that he just wanted to save the world, and it didn't matter how much money he was making at his corporate job at Cisco. He really badly just wanted to be the change and help other people be the change. And so he quit that job and he started his own business, and it did have its ups and downs, but now he's making really, really good money in a very short amount of time. It took him 4 years to hit, $1 million, and he's a multi-millionaire now. And it's from helping people. I don't think there's anybody that I've talked to that I've referred to the program. So people I'm, speaking to quite regularly. And, anybody that I met in the program or since the program that hasn't loved the fact that they gave him money even if they didn't have the money. I myself was one of those people. I did not have the money to invest, but what I did know was that I had a lot of certificates, I had a big mission, and I had no idea how to do business. So I went to a corporate guy that knew how to do this stuff. And of course, being a mentee of Jack Canfield, he also brought in the spirituality and the mindset work and everything to make this happen and turn a ripple effect into a wave. And so I'm going to share some of his secrets. I do this, every year I'll go back to the training, which is something really cool that he does. He keeps you in the loop by still sharing recorded calls every week for anybody who's already invested. He also leaves the program open so you can go back over and over and over again. And I like doing it on the first of the year because then I get to tune in with where I'm at, what are the successes I've had, what did I do, what didn't I do, what did I learn, all of these kinds of things in a very strategic way. I'll also share that I've been sober for a lot of years now, since 2014 when I made the decision to stop drinking. And I mean, my ancestry, many of them were alcoholics. On one side of my family was Aboriginal, the other side was the French Connection. So a lot of, bikers and drugs and alcohol and things like that there too. And the Aboriginal side, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of alcohol, a lot of abuse. And so, for me, I had a lot that I had to work through. And I also spent over a decade in the hospitality and tourism industry where I worked all those really long shifts. Now, when it comes to New Year's Eve, I'm so grateful that I just get to be at home with people that I love, and I get to go to bed at a decent hour, and I get to wake up and start my new year really fresh with intention and a clear mind. It's something I'm so grateful for that I do. And the way that we actually celebrated New Year's Eve was with a cacao ceremony. So we were able to release everything. We burned a lot in the fire, again, giving that release. And we did our cacao ceremony over top of the fire. So we were infusing, the good vibes, the fiery energy into our cacao that we were able to have both the night of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys too. Um, Now, on New Year's Day, Tristan and I woke up and we turned on the Xander training after our, we like to do like a little workout routine, just stretches and stuff like that. Got breakfast for Finn, and then we dove in. And one of the first exercises we did was called the 10 Things exercise. And for this, it's 10 things that you didn't do last year that you really wanted to do. So I invite you guys all now. I'm going to sip on my coffee and give you guys some time to grab a pen, a paper, and actually start doing this work, okay? I'll even put on some meditative music for you. Get the most out of this call, all right? So, do 10 things you didn't do last year that you really, 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 really wanted to do, all right? Get that ready. I'm going to find this music. I'm going to sip on my coffee. I only do this on Sundays, and I put mushrooms in it. Cacao butter is so much, so good. So I'm really looking forward to having that next sip. I'm going to get some music on here for you guys. Just start writing that down. 10 things. If you notice resistance come up, fight through it. Get this done. If it's hard to think of 10, and so you're thinking about 10 things in 2021, okay? 2021, what were 10 things you didn't do you really, really badly wanted to do? So therefore, if you say, well, I would like to become like that. Philosopher's Mixtape, you guys. Go look it up. I love the Alan Watts laugh. All right. Next, well, actually, I can share with you what was on my list. All right. So, number one, I wrote down van life. I really wanted to get a van and customize it and get Finn in there. There's a couple reasons why I didn't do this. I know they're excuses, so I'm taking full responsibility. Though I also understand, be patient and let things, come. I honor the process, and I'm closer to doing it now in a better way than I would have been if I just jumped in and did it last year. So a couple of reasons why I didn't do it was because there's some restrictions around car seats, and things like that. And Finn does still have a car seat. I could put him in a booster. He is at that weight, but I was really nervous. And if I would have put in a special seat for him, it would have taken up a lot of room. I really didn't want to do that. So instead, I kept my car for another year. I practiced driving more because I'm new at that. I never wanted to play into that system. Have a car. You know, I did other things, mainly walking or carpooling or taking a train or a plane or a bus, different things like that. So getting a car was new, and I did take the extra year to just practice, and yeah, and we did a lot of road trips just to experience what it's like in a smaller space. So I know when we do get the van that it's going to feel big and even better instead of cramped. Because right now in a miniature SUV, that is how it's been, though we did it really, really good and had some amazing adventures. So I'm okay with it. It's still a goal that I'm bringing over to this new year, and yeah, and we'll see how it happens. Another thing was traveling to British Columbia. I had some clients out there, other old friends. I really wanted to visit. I used to live there before. I wanted to show Finn what it was like. And other than that, driving through Alberta, driving through Banff, like all that kind of stuff, I really wanted to do and didn't do it. The reason why I didn't do it is I really didn't want to do the testing that they're doing for coronavirus. I don't want anything shoved up my nose. I don't want to play a part of that system. I didn't feel comfortable, exposing Finn to maybe how I might react if somebody did that. But here it is. It was a bunch of what ifs, and they're all excuses. I could have still done it. I chose not to. So I have to own that. I have to take responsibility. Another thing was to earn $50,000 a month. This did not happen, though I have met more people who are doing that, and that's given me even more inspiration, even more knowledge in order to be able to reach those goals. And here's the thing too, it's not that I, live a really expensive life or that I have, you know, dreams of like living a luxe life. It's that I have dreams of being a vessel for that money so that it literally goes through me into better areas. Because I know all that money exists, and there's a lot of people out there that spend it on shitty ass things like alcohol, consumerism, investing into corporations and stock market. And I wanted to help the people who have that money to transmute it into something that's actually going to help humanity and help the collective. And I know that I'm here to be a vessel for that. And so I just wanted to help move that money. I haven't made it there yet, but I made a lot of great connections with people who are doing what I want to do. And so I still feel that that's a success, even though, again, I haven't reached that amount of income myself, definitely not consistently. Okay, another one was give up my apartment in the city. I grew up in the country. I love the country. I never had a vision of being in the city. And the truth is, I kind of hate it. But I know I needed that experience, and it has helped me with my business. I've met a lot of people. Finn's had experiences that, normally you wouldn't get in the country, that's for sure. And so, um, I have my city apartment. We don't spend a lot of time there. We spend a lot of time at Tristan's. We spend a lot of time on the road. It is nice to go back and have that place. And the truth is, my parents are now there. So, you know, it came in handy. I understand why it was there. I, in some ways, even feel like I was holding a space for my mom because for a long time it was me and Finn and my stepdad. And now that they're back together and they've got that space together, I understand why it all manifested that way, and I'm grateful, but I also am still ready to let it go, and I didn't last year. And I still haven't, even to today, I haven't said that, I'm gone or given it up because of many reasons. One of them is because it doesn't actually cost me that much. I know what people spend on city apartments, but I got a really, really good deal that was grandfathered in, and to let go of that, especially in today's market, I just feel that I would be losing, even though I pay into it. It's kind of like an investment just to have that security, and I have to take responsibility for that. I understand that to be a success and to do some of these other things, that means letting go. Um, and so I'm working towards that now, and it's feeling more comfortable because my mom's there. Okay, so another thing was buying land of my own. I let a few things and people and fears around working with the banks. When I was in South America, I knew that there was farmers that had been kicked off their land because they couldn't pay their taxes because the governments wanted to use the land for other things like putting in highways. So the governments raised the taxes so high that the farmers had to leave their land. And because of all this stuff going on in coronavirus, I had this fear because I've seen it happen before that perhaps if I went through the banks and bought land at this time, that perhaps that would happen to me. And it is a fear. It's something that I'm still working through. I have used this last year in 2021 to build up my credit. Banks just keep giving me money, which is nice. My cards are getting shinier and and all that. And I also was able to save money. So it worked out, but I didn't buy that land homestead. And the truth is, going homestead or van life, I also see that they don't necessarily go together unless I have the land and I'm in the van while building up a house or Airbnb and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of goes together, but I had to make a decision which one comes first. And that was a hard thing to do. I've made that decision now. It's definitely van first, then land, live in the van while building up on the land as eco and sustainably as possible. So that, and plus working on the van and converting it is going to give me those skills to make tiny homes on there for you guys to all come visit and things when that's up. Um, and going. Another thing was hosting retreats. I participated in other people's, but I wasn't hosting my own. I did do a couple trip sitting ceremonies and a couple field trips, and I definitely had a lot of really fun adventures. Uh, but I didn't host my own retreats. This said, I did update my website, and now we're accepting people to do that for this year. So, I didn't do it last year, but it's already in the making for this one. There's some other things here that I just wanted to do for myself, like just self-care practices. Um, you know, I didn't go into sauna at all last year. Very important thing for me. I know it makes me feel really, really good doing those sweats, whether it was a sauna or a sweat lodge or anything. I really wanted to do both. And it didn't happen. I didn't make that time for myself. So it helped me in doing this list realize that it's really important that this winter I get those kinds of things in. So yeah, I'm gonna turn the music back on. Now I want you guys to write a list on what are 10 things you did do, even though people may have judged you for it. 10 things that you did in spite of judgments, in spite of any challenges, in spite of any fears that you may have had, any judgments you had yourself, any doubts you may have had. 10 things that you did that are really freaking cool that were, I guess, even outside your comfort zone. Whatever it is, get those 10 things out. I'm going to turn back on the Philosopher's Mixtape, and you guys get those out, and then we'll check back, okay? All right. So, have you got your 10 things down? If you need a little extra time, that's okay. You can write as I read, some off of my own list. All right. So, one thing that I did, and this is a really big one, you guys, is that I wrote another book called Rebirth, and that is going to be out for publish likely this month, but definitely out for release in the wintertime. So within the next 90 days or so, which is really super exciting. And here's why it was that I felt there's a lot of judgment around it and why it was I was scared is that it took me a long time to come out of the psychedelic closet. I've been working with psilocybin mushrooms specifically for it'll be 18 years in the summer. So 17 years, 17 and a half years, I've been working with this sacred medicine that I just love so much and so passionate about and has helped me in so many ways. And I was doing really cool field trips and things like that. I got myself sober. I healed a lot of family karma. And, when I became a mom, I was a single mom. And my parents, my friends, myself, I felt I had to stop talking about psychedelics. I felt I definitely had to stop doing those jobs that I loved so much in that space and and grow up. And that meant going back to school and I got certified in nutrition. I got certified in hormone health. I got certified as a coaching master. I did all these things. I published my first book with the help of my nutrition school called Be the Change, Your Guide to Elemental Growth, where I broke down the seasons and the moon cycle so you guys can hold yourself accountable to the change you want to be, using nature to nurture the process of change so that it's easier on you, so that it comes more naturally. And in that book, as much as psychedelics helped me tune into nature and help me, I didn't talk about them at all. I I mentioned it once in my story. I said sacred journey, like way in the intro. What I meant to say was was my life journey working with these medicines, and I couldn't say it. I was really scared. I was scared that I would be locked up in a cage, that my son and I would be separated. I was scared of so many things. I was scared that after all the work I did to become a professional and expert in health and nutrition, that people were going to look upon me as less than, or they'd look down on me and think I'm a bad mom. And when I published, I thought it was going to feel a lot better than it did. But I knew there was something missing. So I went to Tristan, who was a client of mine at the time. We were doing a barter, and I was just starting my business. And, he was asking me to explain my book. And I couldn't. I wasn't that attached to it. Like, I used everything in it. That is how I live my life, but I wasn't attached to it because it wasn't the whole truth. And he helped me make a miniature documentary around my story using psychedelics, and it felt so good, and he did such a good job on it, and I was very inspired to come out of the psychedelic closet. So I started working with another coach who was doing that kind of work in the UK, again far enough away from me that I knew he wasn't gonna judge me for it or couldn't get me criminalize me or anything like that for it. I mean, I know him very well now. I know he would never do those kinds of things, but I was so scared at first, right? And then I reached out to Maps, who was doing amazing work in the field at the time, and some I guess Rick Doblin, a lot of people know who he is. And so I reached out to his team and I said, look, I'm ready to come out. I've got all these certifications. I love to write. I just published my book. They're like, you need to go meet Daniel at Socialdelic. So I did. And I wrote for Socialdelic for 3 years. For 3 years. I wrote article guides, all these kinds of things. I contributed as much as I could and consistently at that, right? Because I really wanted this. So I was consistent every single month for 3 years. And I took all of that knowledge And I worked with another client of mine who really loves elemental growth and what we stand for. And she helped me take all of that and make it into a new book called Rebirth. So now we have Be the Change and Rebirth. And Rebirth is a collection of all those articles and guides and everything. And Juliana just had this way of making everything flow in such a beautiful way, and she decorated it, and I feel so good. So this was something I did that was really, really hard for me to do, that there was a lot of judgment, most of it from myself. But I felt judged for many, many, many years. That was a lot of conditioning, a lot of pressure I put on myself to keep everything a secret to myself. And it felt so freeing to just let it out. And also to be able to hand it to somebody who had a lot of respect and reverence, that could do something beautiful with it all. And so that was a win. And another thing that I did do was I was born in a really small town called Timmins, where Shania Twain was from. And from there, my parents ended up separating, and my mom brought me back to her hometown, which is on Georgian Bay, another little village, but I guess more known of because it's not as far north as Timmins is. And some things I did in this year was resolve a lot of that family stuff. I got to spend some time with my mom's grandfather before he went into an old age home. Not that I agree with that or wanted to be a part of any of that, but I did get to spend time in that house and with him before it sold. And they sold it when the market was high. So, some of his children, they got they got to take care of things. My grandfather, he felt really good for that. He felt that it was a good decision, and I got to spend that time with him, and I got to learn from him. And so that was one thing. I also traveled up to Timmins, and I got to be on the land where my dad spent a lot of time, and the water, and I got to feel that, and I got to bring the people that are really close to me to experience that with me. It was one of the first road trips that Tristan and I did with the kids together, and he was so supportive in it all, and the kids had a great time. And we ended up going to Sudbury, where I have some other family, again north. And yeah, and I was able to resolve some family stuff there too, just being in their presence, and learning and observing, and hugging, and feeling. And that was really beautiful. It was something I was really scared of. My dad died when I was 17 years old, and so even though I've stayed in touch with some of those family members, it wasn't close in the same way. And so I was able to heal from a lot of that, and I was able to understand where I came from, and I was able to be close, start renewing relationships with people that really mattered to him. And that helped me feel closer to him. And so I consider that a win. Why it is I felt judged for that kind of stuff is because my mom, she separated from that family. She didn't want me to be a part of any of that. When I was in Timmins and she just happened to call me, one of the things that she said is, "What do you think you're looking for up there?" Like, and it made me sad and a little bit depressed. I felt that too. And then I freed it all and I had a good time anyway, and I got some really good memories. There's a few other things here that I did that, I felt were really great successes this year. And, so I invite you guys, send me your list. Email me, ashley@elementalgrowth.org, or text me if you have my phone number, or put it in our Signal group if you're a part of that, and just let us know, what are 10 things you didn't do and what are 10 things you did do in 2021. Get those to me, and we'll celebrate together, and we'll also help you stay accountable. If any of that stuff still matters to you that you didn't do, we'll help you, together as a collective, get to where it is that you really want to be. Because as I mentioned before, this isn't about us. This is about the collective. This is about everybody that comes after you. This is about, contributing to either the collective anxiety or the collective healing and resolution and the new world that you literally do want to create, not the one that's being created from the crown. All right. What else have we got here? I'm gonna take another little drink here. Oh, candle went out. My bad. I think there's a lot of wax in there. It doesn't want to light. That's all right. Oh, did it? Maybe it did. Such good coffee. There's something so special about cacao butter. Oh my God. I can't say enough. When we do our cacao ceremony, whenever I make homemade chocolate, I always use cacao paste because it's a more natural form. It's what's used ceremonially. And it has the cacao butter with the cacao powder. What happens is when you make cacao powder, you essentially take the butter out. I like using the butter in different cosmetic things. We do ever makers parties with the girls and things like that, and so we'll make lip balms out of it and things. But I also like it in my coffee. It makes it so special when I have it, the one day a week. And when we did the cacao paste, my God, I can't even explain to you guys. Get your hands on that and make chocolate out of the cacao paste. So good. And that's what it's reminding me of right now, just drinking that coffee. I'm like, oh, it's very heart opening. It's a very sacred medicine. Um, so good for the brain too, you guys. All right, so another exercise I am gonna do with you guys is, Tristan's got all these notebooks. I mean, I do too, but they're just not here. I just take a piece of paper and, now it's all folded up. But essentially later I'm going to burn this as well. I'll crumple it up, put it in the paper once I have everything off of it that I need. So some ways that I take some of these things and put them into actionable steps, I'm going to show you as we get into the next exercise. However, I also want to show you that, you can use just scrap piece of paper or printer paper or whatever you have around you. You don't need some fancy notebook or a million notebooks or anything. You use what you have available to you. And this was what was available to me when we started yesterday morning. And yeah, what I end up doing to you guys is I record what's on here into affirmations and I listen to them. I give myself a hypnosis as I'm sleeping at night of what it is that I want. And there's a lot of tips and tricks to make this really efficient and powerful and help you manifest really fast that I can share with you. So just again, reach out to me if you want those tips. I'm going to keep everything really general here and simple and easy so you guys can just take action and get started where you're at now. All right. But if you are into the more advanced stuff and the law of attraction stuff, get to me and we'll dive into that together. All right. So this next exercise I've got here, and I'm going to cut it short. I want you guys to do this on your own time, though I'll give you a little bit of time here. But it took Tristan and I quite a while to get out all the things that we needed and wanted. This activity is called 100 Things. It's called 100 Things by Xander Fryer. Myself, I like doing 108 because I really love that number. 108. I find it's really sacred. I have the tattoo on me of the lotus, and yeah, it just always reminds me of the Buddhist mala. 108 beads or something sacred. It's the vibration. It's the original vibration, that created the earth, or so is said in some of that sacred scripture. So I use 108. So 108 things you want to do, be, or have in your life. It doesn't have to be the year. I mean, in life in general, all of it. Get it all out on a paper. I'm going to turn the music on right now, and you guys can write out as much as you can. Keep the list going so that you guys can do this work when we're done the call. And get it all out. I'm going to put the music on for a little bit. I want you guys to know any resistance. Maybe there's resistance as you're writing something out and you're like, do I really want this? Do I not? Just contemplate it a bit, but also let it go and write the thing down anyway. If you're having resistance in completing the 108 things, do it anyway. Whatever's coming to mind, get it out. Once you get it out, the flow will come and everything else will come. It's that you have to move past that to get this whole list done. All right. So I made 4 columns, 25 things in each column. There was no actual organization, but here is a tip. When you're talking about traveling the world, for example, don't say I want to travel the world unless you're doing the world all on one trip or whatever. Maybe that is something that you want. But perhaps instead, right, I want to go to Sri Lanka. I want to go to the British Isles. I want to go to wherever it is, right? So break it down that we can fill in more space and that is more specific, right? You know, those SMART goals. Specific, measurable, actionable, uh, realistic, and timelined, right? You don't need to make it like SMART goals, but definitely uh, make it, make it as smart as you can make it, I guess. And note that resistance. I'm going to turn the music on here. Start the form, that way it's there. And then when I turn the music off, I'm going to teach you what the next steps are so that you can actually make it actionable. And we'll take it from there, okay? All right. So once you have at least your list, knowing that you have to write down 108 things, and yes, make yourself do it. You can use the 10 things that maybe you didn't do last year, and the 10 things you want to add on to maybe with the things that you did do. You can, of course, break down the different places that you want to travel. You can, or even want to go back to, like I love South America so much. Of course, I want to go back and I want to do different things. And I also want to see the people that I met before, you know. So I write all that stuff down. Some other things I had on here with ley line retreats. I have this beautiful vision of once I get really good at retreats on my own land, that I collaborate with some people around the world to light up the world by having a retreat on each of the ley lines or the earth chakra system. And yeah, so like that's on there. It's really big. Get it down. Your dreams are inside of you for a reason, so write them down. Your brain will automatically start figuring out how to make it happen. You know, this is how Jack Canfield himself was in the shower and got the ideas for chicken noodle soup for the soul. Not only that, but he is, I think it was like 100 people said that they wouldn't publish that book. How many are available now? There's a chicken noodle soup for the soul book for every single soul out there, I think, Uh, Just get it out so that you can start making it happen. Your unconscious mind already knows what to do. It's like Google. Google has everything that you need. You just type it in. Your unconscious mind, a little bit different, but it has all those connections. You just also are a different kind of participant. And sometimes it takes a little bit of programming or reprogramming, some different installs to make it work as efficiently as Google, though you can make that happen. You can be Google University of your own self. So it starts with just writing it all down, and whether it's crazy or not, note the resistance, but then move past it, move beyond, ascend it, right? All right, once you have your list of the 108 things, you pick your top 8. That may take a little bit of time, but you pick your top 8 that you can get done this year. You pick the most important ones that you want to work on. So I'm going to turn the music back on, take a highlighter or take a second piece of paper and write down those 8 things.
There is nothing we can do to be anything less than what we are. Do we feel any other way than what we feel at this moment? And to be then this waking awareness, which has the capacity of a horror story about what life will be.
All right. So now we're going to get into why the book Be the Change, Your Guide to Elemental Growth, the one I published in 2019, is so relevant here and how you can use it, mix it with these secret to success exercises that Xander Fryer presents with the Be the Change book that perhaps you guys have in your hand or on your bookshelf, or maybe even the ebook, or haven't even caught it yet. You don't need it to be able to do this, but I know many of you watching this likely do. So what we do with these 8 things is we make a quadrant now on your piece of paper like this, and you say winter, spring, summer, fall. Okay, you're gonna timeline this stuff out. You're gonna put 2 things from that list into each quadrant. And on top of that, like 2 is an achievable number. You can do 2 things each season. That's 2 things in 3 months, 2 things in 90 days. You guys got this. You can do that, even if it's big, right? So, um, I guess to make it easier and simpler to figure out which priority these things go into, think about what's going to be enjoyable to do in the summer, that's maybe includes being outside, or that would be easier in the summer because you're outside more, because the days are longer and you've got more time, and then those things that you can do online or that require that kind of isolation, right? Because that's what winter's for. Winter's for germinating seeds. Winter's for planning. Winter's for that website stuff and the content creation stuff. Winter is for that, so that in the spring, you can blossom, bloom into something new. Winter's for germinating, spring for the awakening, summer for the receiving, and fall for releasing. Okay, you guys, just keep it simple. So 2 things in each quadrant, 2 things for each season, each month. If you want to take this a step further, figure out when's the equinoxes, when's the solstice. We're going to give you guys out a moon guide. I can even likely attach it to this. If not, it'll be in our signal group, so you guys will be getting that soon. I also got the winter food guide from a couple years back that I can share with you guys too. If you guys want to start eating with the seasons, really good stuff to make sure that you guys are happy and healthy, right? Because without the health and the happiness, you're not going to do any of this stuff. So very foundational. I'm going to get that out to you guys too. It's a little outdated, but there's recipes. Recipes aren't outdated. So yeah, we'll get that to you. We'll get you this year's moon guide as well, so you guys can really start holding yourselves accountable to these things. And of course, you know, changing with the seasons, using nature to nourish that process of change, so that it's easier, so that it's more natural, right? We want to be aligned to Mama Nature. The most consistent thing we have going for us is change, right? So yeah, let's tap into this. I also want you guys to know that one of the ways that I hold myself accountable, or myself and my clients accountable, is and track our growth, to make sure that we are still, in that growth mindset. that is through the moon cycles, right? So this is why I mentioned that I'll be sending you guys out a moon guide. Is so that each new moon you can invite yourself to do those new tasks, to schedule in the tasks that it takes, to understand the action steps, to build out those dream boards, and then the full moon to release what's no longer serving you, to let it go, to maybe have that fire and and that cacao ceremony, whatever you guys want to do. Yeah, so here it is. I think we're on about time now. Next week well, do you know, I'll pull this. Let us know in the Signal group. Do you want me to go back to doing Q&As, or do you want me to continue doing teachings like this? Let me know in the comments. This is High Tea Hour. I'm going to show up no matter what on Sundays for High Tea with you guys. So just let me know. What would you like to see more? And let us know in the Signal group, which I'll likely have linked here. Or you can, if you're in there already, just let me know. And you can always email me at Ashley@elementalgrowth.org if you want to connect with me one-on-one. All right, you guys, I love you all so much. I'm wishing you so much health and happiness and, for, you know, not only the blessings, but for each thing that you want to manifest to actually come true, the stuff that you truly want, not those fears that just come up, those things that you're scared of that you talk about and you're trying to wake everybody up. Like, no more of that. Like, let's just focus on what you truly want. Because if you're focused on the apocalypse, if you're focused on, all the hearsay and all the conspiracy theories, then you're going to give your power away to that anxiety. You're going to give your power away to other people's moods, to other people's resistance to hear what you have to say. And the truth is, you have a lot of good to say. You have a lot of good in you. You have great intentions. I know that because I know each of you that are here. You personally, I know you. And so I want to know that you guys are doing the best to have your own self-care, that you guys are gonna make it and turning your own ripple effect into a wave, into a tsunami together. Okay, we're doing it. It's all happening now. Happy 2020. I love you all so much. Bye for now.